Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just reading a book. We're stepping into a time machine. We are dialing the clock back over 300 years, leaving the modern world behind, and dropping ourselves right into the sensory overload that is feudal Japan.
It's a time and place that feels almost alien compared to today. But, the human motivations, the greed, the power, the lust, they're incredibly familiar.
Exactly. We're looking at the Genroku period, specifically November of 1694. And our source material for this deep dive is the historical mystery novel The Perfumed Sleeve by Joh Rowland. Now, when you think historical mystery, you might picture, I don't know, a cozy village in England or something.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is gritty, it's political, and it is just so incredibly atmospheric.
Atmospheric is absolutely the key word here. To really get what's happening in the story, you have to understand the setting. We're in Edo, which
Right.
is, of course, modern-day Tokyo. But in 1694, Edo is this sprawling wooden metropolis. We're talking over 1 million people. It was, arguably the biggest city in the world at that time.
And it's a city made of wood and paper,
Wood, paper, and heated by charcoal braziers everywhere.
which means it must have smelled of wood smoke and, and fear.
Precisely. Fire is the constant terror of Edo. They actually had a name for it. They call fires the flowers of Edo.
Wow, that's poetic and terrifying.
It is. But the heat in the city isn't just physical. As the book opens, the political temperature is absolutely boiling over. You're looking at a regime that is, it's rotting from the inside out.
Okay, let's set that political stage because it's so crucial for the stakes here. You've got a shogun, Tokugawa Tsuneyoshi, who is, let's be charitable and say he's not the strongest leader the dynasty's ever seen.
Not by a long shot. He's known to history as the dog shogun because of his obsessive, almost bizarre laws protecting dogs. But politically, he was weak-willed, easily manipulated, and because of that power vacuum at the very top, you have wolves circling the throne.
Two wolves in particular. On one side, we have Chamberlain Yanagisawa.
The shogun's favorite. He's the Grand Chamberlain, which means he's effectively the gatekeeper to the shogun. In the novel, and in history too, he's portrayed as the architect of corruption. He represents the new money, the bribes, the backroom deals. His whole strategy is just consolidating power by keeping the shogun happy and isolated.
And staring him down from the other side of the ring is Lord Matsudara.
The traditionalist. He's the shogun's cousin. He represents the old guard, the strict adherence to the Bushido code, the pure samurai spirit. He looks at Yanagisawa and just sees a parasite destroying the country from within.
So the entire city is split. You have samurai pledging loyalty to one faction or the other. It feels like a powder keg.
The source material literally describes Edo as a barrel of gunpowder, just waiting for a spark.
And right in the middle of all this, trying to keep that spark from hitting the powder, is our protagonist, Sano Ichirō.
Sano is such a compelling figure because he's this outsider on the inside. He holds the title of Shusakan-sama.
I love that title. It sounds so impressive, but what does that job actually involve?
Well, it translates roughly to the shogun's most honorable investigator of events, situations, and people. It's a completely unique position. He's a high-ranking samurai, a hatamoto, which means he answers directly to the shogun and only the shogun.
So his job is basically, he's a detective.
He's a detective. He searches for the truth in a society that values face and appearances far more than it values actual facts.
And that's a dangerous job description, because if the truth is inconvenient for a powerful warlord, the messenger usually gets killed.
Exactly. And the tension at the start of The Perfumed Sleeve is that Sano is the only thing preventing open warfare between the Yanagisawa and Matsudara factions. He is walking this incredibly fine tightrope.
And then the tightrope snaps, or at least it gets shaken violently, because a body drops. Senior Elder Makino Narasada.
And this isn't just some random merchant found in a canal. Makino is the head of the Council of Elders. He's arguably the third most powerful man in Japan. He is the glue holding the council together.
And he's found dead in his bed.
Dead in his bed. The official story, what they call the omote, or the public face, is that he died peacefully in his sleep. He was an old man, it happens, the city prepares to mourn, everything is neat and tidy.
But then Sano gets a letter.
A letter from the grave. This is the catalyst for everything. Makino's valet brings Sano a sealed message written by Makino just before he died.
It says what?
It says, "If you are reading this, I am dead. Please investigate my death and determine whether it was murder."
Wow, that sends a chill down your spine. But it also puts Sano in a horrific bind. We really need to talk about the samurai code here. Why is this letter such a trap for him?
It's because of the concept of giri, which is this complex idea of duty and obligation.
Yeah.
Makino is Sano's superior, a plea for help from a superior, even a dead one. It simply cannot be ignored without a massive, catastrophic loss of honor.
But investigating the death means he's directly challenging the official narrative. It suggests the shogunate security failed. It suggests treason at the highest levels.
So his choice is this: ignore the letter and be a bad samurai, a dishonorable man, or investigate it and risk starting a civil war and almost certainly getting himself executed by whichever faction he offends.
It's the classic Sano dilemma, truth versus survival.
And he chooses the truth, of course. He has to. He goes to the Makino estate.
So let's walk through this crime scene investigation, because this is where Rowland really shines in showing us the procedural limitations of the 17th century. Sano arrives at the estate, and he's met by the chief retainer, Tamura.
And Tamura is, like I said, a stone wall. He is the epitome of the loyal, stoic retainer. He claims he found Makino dead, peaceful, everything perfectly in order. He even tries to block Sano from seeing the body.
But Sano pulls rank and gets into the bedroom. Now, tell us about this room. What does Sano see that just makes his detective senses start screaming?
It's the perfection. In Japanese culture, there's a huge appreciation for order and aesthetics, wabi-sabi and all that. But this was unnatural. It was sterile. The sleeping kimono on the body was smoothed down without a single wrinkle.
Like it had been ironed onto him.
Exactly. And the tea service on the side table, a cup, a pot, and a caddy, was arranged in a perfect geometric triangle.
So it looked like a still life painting, not a room where a man just died.
Precisely. When someone dies, even peacefully, there's a final relaxation of muscles, a shifting of weight. The bedding usually looks slept in. This looked like it had been arranged by an obsessive servant after the death.
It was staged.
It was absolutely staged. Sano knows immediately that the peaceful death is a complete lie.
But knowing it and proving it are two totally different things. And this is where we hit a massive cultural wall. Sano wants an autopsy.
Which is just, it's unthinkable.
Why? I mean, to a modern listener, an autopsy is step one in any murder investigation. Why is it so impossible in 1694?
You have to understand the Shinto and Buddhist concepts of purity and pollution, or kegar. Death is the ultimate pollution. A dead body is spiritually toxic. To cut open a body, to desecrate the vessel that was provided by your ancestors, is a horrific taboo.
It's not just illegal, it's a moral crime.
It's a moral abomination. No samurai would ever lower himself to touch dead flesh in that way. It's just not done.
So Sano can't call in a coroner. He has to steal the body.
Right, the heist. It's one of the tensest sequences in the book. Sano tells Tamura that the body must be confiscated for official rights by order of the shogun.
It's a total bluff.
Complete fabrication. But Tamura can't defy a direct order invoked in the shogun's name, even if he suspects it's fake.
So Sano's retainers, Marume and Fukita, they carry the body out in a large traveling trunk. But they can't just walk through the streets of Edo with it.
No, the plan is much more complex. They have to smuggle it out of the estate, transfer it to a palanquin, a sedan chair that's been hidden under some floorboards, one with a false bottom.
Imagine the stress of that. You're carrying the dead body of the head of the Council of Elders through the streets, knowing that if you're stopped and the city guards look inside,
you'd be forced to commit seppuku ritual suicide on the spot. The disrespect would be unforgivable.
And where do they take it? They can't go to a hospital or a doctor's office. They go to the one place in the entire city the authorities won't look, the Eta quarter.
This is such a crucial piece of social history. The Eta, who were later known as Burakumin, were the outcast class of Japan.
Untouchables, essentially.
Yes. Because of that religious stigma of death and blood, people who worked as butchers, tanners, executioners, or gravediggers were considered polluted. They were segregated, forced to live in specific walled-off ghettos. They were legally considered non-humans.
The prejudice was absolute, so for a samurai like Sano to even set foot in the Eta quarter would be socially suicidal.
Which makes it the perfect hiding spot. He takes the body to a secret morgue run by his ally, Dr. Edo.
I find Dr. Edo fascinating. He represents a completely different kind of rebellion than Sano. Sano rebels for justice, but Edo rebels for knowledge.
That is a great distinction. Dr. Edo is a practitioner of Rangaku, or Dutch learning. You have to remember, Japan is under Sakoku, the closed country edict. Foreigners are banned, foreign books are banned. The only tiny window to the outside world is the Dutch trading post down in Nagasaki.
So Western medicine, anatomy, surgery, it's all contraband.
It's heresy. The traditional Chinese-style medicine focused on flows of energy, ki, meridians. The idea of cutting a body open to look at organs was considered barbaric and disrespectful to the dead. Dr. Ito is risking his life just by owning a European medical text, let alone a scalpel.
He's an outcast among doctors, banished to this morgue in the ghetto, but he's the only man in Edo who can tell Sano how Akino really died.
So under the cover of darkness, in this place of pollution, they stripped the third most powerful man in Japan naked on a slab. And that peaceful death theory just evaporates instantly.
It's a brutal examination.
It is. The first thing they notice is the rigor mortis. Amedino is stiff as a board. But, and this is the key, his arms are laid peacefully at his sides, yet his elbows move freely.
Wait, if rigor mortis is fully set in, the joint should be frozen solid.
Exactly. The only way the elbows would be loose is if someone broke the rigor. That means Makino died in a different position, probably fighting for his life or curled up in pain and rigor set in over several hours. Then, someone came in, took his stiffened arms, and physically snapped the joints to force them straight.
The sound of that, snapping the arms of a corpse, it shows this cold, calculated determination to set the stage, to create this illusion of peace.
It gets much worse. Dr. Ito turns the body over and finds massive, deep bruising all over the torso. Broken ribs. This 80-year-old man was beaten viciously with something heavy and blunt.
And the killing blow.
A cranial fracture behind the ear. A single powerful strike that was likely the kill shot.
So beaten to death. But then Dr. Ito finds something else. Something that shifts the entire genre of this crime from a political thriller to something much, much darker and more personal.
The anal trauma.
It's difficult to discuss, but we have to be specific here because it's what drives the profile of the killer.
Yes. Dr. Ito discovers severe tearing and bruising. Makino was penetrated violently. It could have been rape, or it could have been the insertion of a large foreign object. The damage suggests it happened either immediately before or during the moment of death.
This completely changes Sano's headspace. If this was a political assassination ordered by Yanagisawa, why the sexual violence? Assassins usually just use a sword and poison. They're efficient. This feels personal.
It screams of rage, of dominance, or possibly a sexual game that went horribly, horribly wrong. It suggests the killer was intimate with Makino or hated him with a passion that goes way beyond politics. It opens up the very real possibility that this is a domestic crime, not a state one.
So, armed with this horrifying new knowledge, Sano goes back to the scene of the crime, but he realizes the bedroom isn't the crime scene. The bedroom is the stage. He needs to find the backstage.
And he finds it in the study, the room right next door.
The study is the polar opposite of the bedroom. The bedroom was pristine order. The study is chaos.
Total chaos. Clear signs of a violent struggle. A vase is shattered. Ink is spilled across the desk and floor. And on the tatami mats, the straw mats that cover the floor, there are dark stains. They've been scrubbed, but Sano can see the outlines. It's blood.
And he finds a broken latch on the window that leads out into the garden.
Which seems to suggest an intruder. Someone came in through the garden, broke the latch, fought Makino in the study, killed him there, and then dragged the body into the bedroom.
But this brings us right back to that central contradiction. If an intruder broke in, let's say a ninja or a hired thug, why would they spend an hour cleaning up the body, breaking the rigor mortis, changing the bedding, and tucking him in?
Why not just leave him dead in the study and escape? It makes no sense.
It's a performance.
It's a performance. The intruder theory fits the broken window and the violence. The domestic theory fits the staging and the care taken to hide the nature of the death. Sano starts to suspect that the broken window might be a red herring, a fake clue planted by someone inside the house to make it look like an outsider did it.
And then they find the one clue that points directly, undeniably, to the household: the bedding.
Not the fresh, clean bedding on the corpse. They find the real bedding, the dirty bedding, hidden away in a cupboard. Sano and his chief retainer Harada find this bundle of quilts that just reek of sweat and sex and oil.
And hidden inside,
A torn piece of silk. A sleeve from a woman's kimono. The smoking gun.
Now, in the Jinroku period, clothing is a language, it's a code. You can tell everything about a person by what they wear. What does a sleeve tell Sano?
It's from a furosode, which literally means swinging sleeve. These are very long, flowing sleeves that go almost to the ground. In this era, only young, unmarried women wore them.
Why only them?
Well, a married woman, or an older woman, would wear shorter sleeves, known as tomasode. The long sleeves were considered beautiful, but impractical for household work. So it's a sign of youth and availability in a way.
So we're looking for a young, unmarried woman. That narrows it down.
It does. And the sleeve is scented. It smells of dawn to dusk, which is a very rare, very expensive incense blend, not something a common servant would have.
And the final piece, the stain.
A fresh stain. Hirata, Sano's retainer, he has a lot of experience with the pleasure quarters. He recognizes it immediately. It's a mixture of biological fluids that confirms Makino was sexually active just minutes before he was killed.
So the timeline is becoming clearer. Sexual encounter, violent struggle, beating, death, cover-up. The killer is almost certainly someone in that house.
Or someone the household is desperately trying to protect.
Let's start looking at the suspects. This is like a game of Clue, but everyone is carrying a sword. But before Sano can even interrogate them properly, we have to talk about his shadows. Otani and Ibi.
The watchdogs. These characters are fantastic because they personify the political deadlock Sano is in. He isn't allowed to investigate this alone. Chamberlain Yanagisawa sends his man Ude. Lord Matsudaira sends his man Otani.
So they're just constantly hovering over his shoulder.
Constantly. And they're not there to help. Ibi is trying to twist every clue to pin the murder on Matsudaira's reformists. Otani is trying to twist it all to pin it on Yanagisawa's corruption.
They aren't interested in the truth at all.
Not in the slightest. They're interested in ammunition for their political war. It adds this layer of psychological suffocation to the whole investigation. Sano asks a simple question, and Ibi shouts, "You can't ask that, it insults the Chamberlain." Sano finds a clue, and Otani says, "This proves Yanagisawa is a villain." Sano has to somehow filter out all of their noise to see what's actually there.
So filtering out the noise, let's look at the first and most obvious suspect inside the house, Tamura, the chief retainer.
Tamura is such a complex figure. He is a samurai of the old school, unflinching, rigid, honorable. He served Makino for 30 years. But Sano very quickly realizes that Tamura despised his master.
Why stick around for 30 years if you hate the guy you work for?
That's the tragedy of the retainer. You don't get to choose your lord. Your loyalty is to the clan, to the position. Tamura is a man of rigid honor, serving a man of, well, very loose morals. He saw Makino as corrupt, greedy, and deviant. He hated everything Makino represented.
That sounds like a powerful motive. He finally snapped after 30 years and killed his dishonorable master to cleanse the clan's name.
It's a very strong theory. He had the opportunity, he found the body. But Tamura does something incredibly savvy right away. He declares a kitakyuchi, a vendetta.
Can you explain this legal concept? Because it seems totally counterintuitive for a murder suspect to do this.
In feudal Japan, if your master or a close relative was murdered, you could petition the authorities for official permission to hunt down and kill the murderer yourself. It was a legal, even celebrated act of vengeance.
A license to kill.
Essentially, yes. And by declaring this vendetta so publicly, Tamura is performing the ultimate act of loyalty to his dead master. It's a brilliant move.
So if Sano accuses him now, Sano looks like he's interfering with a sacred duty.
Exactly. It completely shields Tamura. It casts him in the role of the avenger, which psychologically distances him from being the killer in the eyes of the public and the authorities. It's a brilliant defensive maneuver, whether he's innocent or guilty.
Okay, next suspect. Age Maki, the widow.
Young, beautiful, very composed. She is Makino's second wife. And her motive is the oldest one in the book, economics.
The will.
The will. She inherits a stipend of 500 koku, which is a very significant income, and a private villa. She is set for life. She's very frank with Sano. She admits they weren't close. They hadn't shared a bed in years. They slept in separate rooms.
But the sleeve from the crime scene, the Furisode sleeve, doesn't fit her. She's a married woman. She would wear short sleeve.
Correct. Unless she was engaging in some kind of role play or Sano is interpreting the sleeve all wrong, she is physically ruled out by that key piece of evidence. But her demeanor is. She's cold. She doesn't seem to be mourning him. She seems relieved.
Which brings us to the most colorful suspects in the household, Koheiji and Okitsu.
This takes us into the world of the floating world, the entertainment and pleasure districts of Edo. Koheiji is a kabuki actor, a star. He's handsome, charismatic, and somehow he was living in Makino's house, not as a servant, but as a friend.
And Okitsu.
She's a concubine, very young, formerly a prostitute from the Yoshiwara district. Makino saw her, wanted her, and bought her contract.
So she's basically his property. It's a tragic dynamic.
She is property, and she hates it. When Sano's retainer, Hirata, searches her room, he finds the kimono, the one with the missing sleeve. It smells of dawn to dusk incense.
So she was the one in bed with Makino that night.
The physical evidence locks her in. And when Sano confronts her, she just collapses. She admits she was there, but she's terrified. She faints. And Koheiji, the actor, he panics and runs.
Which makes them look guilty as sin. You've got a young concubine, maybe she was being forced into something she didn't want, and her lover, Koheiji, is there trying to protect her. It looks like a classic crime of passion. She fought back. Koheiji helped finish him off.
It fits the domestic theory perfectly. It explains the sexual context, the violence. But Sano pauses. He thinks, could a petite teenage girl and a kabuki actor who's not trained as a warrior beat a large man to death? Could they break his ribs? The level of violence requires a lot of force.
And just as Sano is zeroing in on them, the political world crashes back into the investigation. A new suspect emerges, and this one is politically untouchable, Daimon.
Lord Matsudera's nephew. And this is historically significant. The shogun's current male lover.
We should probably unpack that. To a modern listener, the shogun having a male lover might sound scandalous, but in samurai culture, it was different, wasn't it?
Yes, the concept of Shudo, the way of the young warrior. Male-male relationships were common and often idealized in samurai culture, particularly between an older, experienced warrior and a younger man. It wasn't seen as homosexuality in our modern sense, but as a different kind of bond.
But Daimon isn't in some idealized bond.
Not at all. Daimon is using this relationship for pure power. He's arrogant, he's athletic, he's physically imposing, and he believes he's completely above the law because of his connection to the shogun.
And Samano finds out Daimon was at the house on the night of the murder, a secret meeting.
Right. Tamura, the retainer, reveals it. And when Sano confronts Daimon, he doesn't deny it. Instead, he drops a political bombshell that explains everything about the tension in the city.
He claims Makino was defecting.
Switching sides, yes. Makino was about to abandon Chamberlain Yanagisawa's faction and publicly pledge his loyalty to Lord Matsudera's.
That would have been an earthquake.
It would have tipped the entire balance of power in the Council of Elders. It would have effectively ended Yanagisawa's corrupt reign and put the traditionalists back in control.
This changes the motive for everyone. If Yanagisawa knew Makino was about to defect, he had to kill him to stop it. It's a classic assassination.
And if Lord Matsudera knew, maybe he killed Makino because the old man got cold feet and threatened to back out of the deal. The defection itself becomes the motive.
Damon's story is that he was there to finalize the deal.
He claims he was, and he claims he left Makino alive. He says he exited through a secret, overgrown gate in the back garden wall, which conveniently explains the footprints Sano found and the broken latch on the study window.
So the intruder wasn't an assassin. It was a political VIP sneaking out after a secret meeting.
That is Damon's story. But if he's lying, he certainly has the physical strength to break an old man's ribs, and he has the arrogance to think he could get away with staging a scene.
So Sano is completely stuck. He has household suspects who look guilty of assorted sex crime, and he has political suspects at the highest level who look guilty of assassination. He needs eyes and ears inside the house, someone who can see what's happening when the police aren't looking.
Enter Reiko,
Sano's wife. And I love that in these books, she is never just a damsel or a sidekick. She has her own agency, her own investigations, but she starts this book in a very dark place.
She does. We have to acknowledge her trauma. In the previous book in the series, she was kidnapped and held captive for an extended period. She has what we would now call severe PTSD. She's agoraphobic, suffering from crippling panic attacks. She feels like a broken woman trapped in her own home.
But she sees Sano struggling, she sees the danger he's in, and she decides that the only way to heal herself is to face her fear head on.
It's a radical form of exposure therapy, really.
Yeah.
She decides the only way out is through. She's going to go undercover into the house of the murderer.
And the physical transformation she undergoes is jarring. She dyes her teeth gray.
Right. The practice of ohaguro tooth blackening was a mark of beauty for married women and aristocrats. But commoners often had gray or yellowed teeth from their diet, so she makes her teeth look worse. She dyes streaks of her hair gray to look older. She adopts the weary hunch of a servant. She erases her identity and becomes Amy, the kitchen maid.
And Rowland doesn't romanticize the life of a servant at all.
Not in the slightest. It's brutal. It's waking up in the freezing cold, plunging your hands into icy water, scrubbing radishes until your fingers bleed. Reiko is bullied mercilessly by the head housekeeper, a woman named Yasu, who beats the maids with a bamboo stick for the smallest infractions. Reiko, a high-born samurai wife, is suddenly at the absolute bottom of the social food chain.
But this invisibility is her superpower. Nobody pays attention to the maids scrubbing the floor. And because she's invisible, she finds the one room nobody else thought to look for.
The secret chamber.
This is the real deep dive moment of the episode. The ura, the hidden private side of senior elder Makino. Reiko sneaks into the murder room while the household is distracted with funeral preparations. It's been cleared out. But she's methodical. She feels along the walls, the shelves.
And she finds a catch. A hidden mechanism in the shelving. A classic secret door.
She slips inside, and she finds herself in a dungeon.
But not a prison dungeon. A playground?
A sexual playground. The room is lined with erotic scrolls, but the main feature is life-size dolls.
Human-shaped figures constructed from fabric and padding.
Exactly. Just as famous courtesans of the day. And the detail that really disturbs Reiko, that shows the depth of Makino's obsession, is the realism he was striving for. One of the dolls has been modified. It has a cavity filled with mashed daikon radish.
Why mashed radish?
To simulate the moisture and the texture of a human body, it's this visceral, grotesque detail that shows he wasn't just a lecher, he was constructing an elaborate fantasy world where he had total control over these women.
Yeah.
And there's equipment, pain compliance tools.
Leather-padded clubs, ropes. This starts to explain some of the bruising on the body. Maybe some of those injuries were self-inflicted or part of a consensual BDSM scene, a ritual that went too far.
And then she finds the box.
A polished wooden chest. She opens it. It's lined with velvet. And inside, nestled in form-fitting slots, is a collection of jade phalluses, carved stone sexual devices.
We're talking about heavy, solid stone objects, weapons, essentially.
We are. And in the velvet lining of the box, so she sees it, there's an empty slot.
One is missing.
And in that moment, the entire forensic puzzle just clicks into place for her and for the reader. The anal trauma found during the autopsy, the heavy, blunt force blow to the head, a heavy jade phallus is the perfect weapon to cause both injuries.
It's a horrific irony. The man who lived for his secret perversions was literally killed by them. The instrument of his pleasure became the instrument of his death.
It completely validates the crime of passion theory. You don't use a jade phallus for a political assassination. You use it because you are in that room, engaged in that act, and things go horribly wrong. The rage is right there.
But Reiko isn't safe. As she's processing this, she hears footsteps approaching the room. She just manages to slip back out and hide behind the secret door as someone else comes in.
It is Tenura, the chief retainer, the man of unwavering honor.
The man who swore the public vendetta to find and kill his master's murderer.
He walks into this secret room of shame. But he isn't surprised by it. He's not shocked. He knows it's there. He's carrying a bundle of cloth.
This is the cliffhanger that Rowland just leaves us dangling on, and it's brilliant.
Tamura calmly unwraps the bundle, and inside it is the missing jade phallus, the murder weapon. He carefully wipes it clean, places it back in the empty slot in the chest, closes the lid, and leaves the room.
He had the murder weapon the whole time.
He had it, and he returned it to the scene of the crime.
So we have to ask the question, did Tamura kill his master? Did the loyal retainer finally decide that 30 years of disgust was enough, that the corruption had to end? Did he use Makino's own perversion to kill him and then hide the weapon?
Or is it more complex than that? Did he find the weapon after the murder and hide it to protect someone else, or to protect the clan's honor? Think about it. If the police found that phallus next to the body, Makino's reputation, and by extension the entire clan's honor, would be destroyed forever. Maybe Tamura isn't covering up a murder. Maybe he's just covering up the shame of the murder.
And Reiko is trapped in the wall, holding her breath, watching the man who is almost certainly the killer, or is covering for the killer, realizing she has no way out and no one knows she's there.
It's just a brilliant setup. Sano is outside, fighting the political war with the warlords. Reiko is inside, fighting this psychological war in the belly of the beast. And the truth is buried under layers of lies, makeup, vendettas, and secret doors.
It really circles back perfectly to that core theme you hear about so much in Japanese culture, the difference between the omote, the public face you show the world, and the ura, the hidden heart you keep locked away.
Makino was a great statesman, but he was also a monster in private. Tamura is a loyal, honorable servant, but he's also potentially a killer or a master manipulator of samurai law. Nothing and no one in Edo is what it seems on the surface.
And that is where we have to leave it for today. Sano has a corpse, a political firestorm, conflicting alibis, and now his wife is trapped in the killer's lair. The Perfumed Sleeve is a masterclass in atmosphere and historical detail. If you want to know if Reiko gets out of that wall, you are absolutely going to have to read the book.
It is worth every single page. I promise you, the resolution is just as shocking and satisfying as the setup.
Thank you for joining us on this trip back to 1694. We hope you can get the smell of incense and wood smoke out of your clothes.
Until next time.
Stay curious.